still sore. I'm still kind of like walking slow and it's achy. It's all, inside it. They said it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks. So, but I mean, I can function, but just it hurts. It's sore.
What did you have, Susan?
I had hernia surgery.
Oh,
So it's hurt. It
yeah,
hurts. But
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
it's been now 2.5 weeks. But I guess it's going according to plan. Wow, look at everybody. Good morning, everyone. Hi.
Rabbi, who did you say was going to be the third person?
Rabbi Miriam Hamrel.
No, no. Then you named
Oh,
yourself and somebody else.
Saul Kaiserman, Saul, who's been doing it once a month from New York.
He's the
And
chaplain.
yeah, people seem to like him also. So
He's not the chaplain.
no. This is
That's
no.
Toby's brother.
Yeah, Toby's brother.
Okay, yeah, he's great.
Yeah, Toby's brother, not the other guy. No, he's gone. Whatever.
Thank you.
Okay, Howard, I want to say hello to you. Hope put on your thing and tell you that we have your Kiddish cup.
I saw that. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, Howard lost this. Howard did a second bar mitzvah. You can do one in your 80s because the tradition is that a lifespan is in Judaism is 70. And if you live to be 83, it's like you're 13 again, and you can have a second bar mitzvah. And we did, I only did it 1 year because I didn't get any takers, but maybe we'll advertise it again. But Howard did it and he had a beautiful Kiddish cup and then he lost it in the fire. So we replaced it for him. You get a silver Kiddish cup with your initials on it. Beautiful. Just like the regular bar mitzvah kids get from the temple.
Well, it will be,
So we're going to mail it. I know they're going to mail
a
it to
small
you.
number of possessions that we now have, all of it were brand new.
Okay, I couldn't understand what you said.
We have
Because
a
it was,
small number of possessions, they're all brand new.
oh
And you
yeah,
have a place of honor among them.
yeah.
It's replacing the
So
things
hard to lose so many
that really
things.
very, very special. The beloved for this memory
I'm glad.
and physical.
I did it almost 10 years ago at Temple Akiva. It's a
Oh, that's
fantastic.
Yeah, if anybody wants to do it, please let me know. We would need at least 3. That's all we need, a minimum of 3, and we'll do it. Okay, so we're in the next parsha, which is Parshat Akev. If you have the Eitz Chaim Chumash, it's on page 1037. But if you don't, it's Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 12. Deuteronomy, the 5th book, Deuteronomy or Devarim, chapter 7, verse 12, Parshat Akev. If you have a time, it's page 1037, 1037. So, last week, it's fun to actually be in a row. Last week, we talked about how Moses. Okay, so I think we should start with this. Let's look at this parsha and also we can refer to last week's as on 2 levels. One level is it's Moses speaking to the Israelites as they're on the border before they enter the land of Canaan. And on the other level, it's a book that was written 300 years after the rest of the Torah. It was discovered in the temple in 632 BCE. And it's something that the prophets want the people in the land to hear because it was read to them. This is when this book was discovered historically, and it says this in the book of Kings, and that they said, oh my God, we found a 5th book written by Moses. And, biblical scholars say it wasn't written by Moses, but it was actually written by some of these prophets to address the problems of the day. So, Herman.
Yeah, Rabbi, with all due respect, can we start with the prayer?
Let's start with the prayer. Let's do that. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Amen. I haven't been doing that with you. I apologize. I'm happy to start doing that. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to look at it on two levels. Moses speaking to the people and the prophets, people about to enter the land, and the prophets who are talking to the people in the land who have been straying and not following the Torah. Okay, and so the first word of this parsha is akev, which means and if you obey. And let's just read a little of it, and I want to compare it to last week, and then I wanted to have a discussion about it. So who would just like to read the first, 5 verses, 4 verses? Who would like to read?
I'll do
Come
it.
on. Okay, Herman.
And if you do obey these rules,
Okay, you're on twice for some reason. I don't know how to.
how do I get me off? Yeah,
I don't.
I see that also.
David, Don, are you there? Can you in some way do this, or did you leave?
No, I'm right here.
Can you see how Herman is on there twice?
Yeah.
Way to get rid of him once.
Let's see.
Because it's echoey.
Let's see. I only see him, honestly. I only
Here,
see him once.
here, and here. Now he's all right. Herman, I might have to you might have to log off and come back because I don't know why you're on twice, but let's see if I can just
Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Yeah. There's one that's there. I got him.
Is there a way to get him off?
Yep.
Okay, 1 second. Sorry, everybody.
Oops. But I don't want to report him to Zoom.
In the meantime, Rabbi, would you like me to read?
Yeah, okay. All right, but Herman, you're off now. Okay, Herman, go ahead, start.
Where are we reading from? What is the reading?
Okay, it's
Chapter and verse?
And if you do obey these rules,
just 1 second. 1 second. It's Deuteronomy, Parsha Akev, which is Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 12. Okay, Herman.
and if you do obey these rules and observe them carefully, the Lord your God will maintain faithfully for you the covenant of that. Am I still echoing?
I don't know if it's you. Everybody else needs to be on mute, just so that we don't hear anybody in the background.
The Lord your God will maintain faithfully for you the covenant that he made on oath with your fathers. He will favor you and bless you and multiply you. He will favor you and bless you and multiply you. He will bless the issue of your womb and the produce of your soil, your new grain and wine and oil, the calving of your herd and the lambing of your flock in the land that he swore to your fathers to assign to you. You shall be blessed above all other peoples. There shall be no sterile male or female among you or among your livestock. The Lord will ward off from you all sickness. He will not bring upon you any of the dreadful diseases of Egypt about which you know, but will inflict them upon your. How did they know? They weren't there 40 years ago.
Okay, but they heard about it. Come on, we know about it, so they know about it.
Okay.
We know about it 3,000 years later. This was 40 years later. They knew about it. Okay, so what does Moses or the text promise the people if they observe the Torah?
Everything good.
Which is a lot of what? What's the focus, would you say? It's prosperity in the land. Remember, they're in the land. If we're reading it as the literary thing, they're in the land. If they're not in the land, it's that they'll be prosperous in the land, and you will be not sick. You'll be fertile. It's prosperity and health. So last parsha, it was if you don't do it, you're gonna be punished, or you're gonna lose the land. There's gonna be a drought. It's gonna be terrible. And now in the second part, it's if you do this, all these good things. So do you think one or the other is more effective? And if you do, why? Do you think punishment or promise of reward, either one was punishment, one was promise of reward for the same behavior? So what do you think it might be more effective, or why do you think both are in the Torah, one after the other? Come on, you have opinions.
You have to know both the good and the bad, otherwise you won't be able to act upon them.
No, but okay, all right, Diane.
I think different people need different information. Not all people respond to good promises, and not all people respond to threat. We're just different people in humanity. So this covers all bases. Hopefully it'll meet everybody.
Okay, so what do you think about, okay, yes, any other thoughts before I ask a follow-up? Any other thoughts about that?
Well, I can't find my little hand, but
Put your hand up, that's fine.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Well, actually, if more like moral development, punishment is at the bottom, sort of like you'll be punished. And as you become more civilized, then there's more different kinds of thinking. So actually there would be positive. So like at the very basics, that's why, with children, sometimes it's just punishment or reward. I don't know if you know anything about Kohlberg's moral development theory.
no, go ahead.
Okay. But anyhow, later on, there's I can't come up with the words right now, but it's more sophisticated reasoning.
Sophisticated
And you
reason.
don't need, and so it's just not punishment. So you're looking at a more sophisticated society. That's sort of where I'm getting at.
Okay, David?
I think that the curses are so horrible that they're really a deterrent not to do certain things. You can imagine when the children are being eaten and there's blood and there's pillage and all of that stuff, and you can kind of get a visceral physical feeling. The blessings are very nice, and you can think that's really, really nice to have our crops grow and have peace and everything like that. But I think the curses are more of a deterrent than the blessings. Although, of course, both of them are impactful.
Okay, so is the Israelites based on okay, so we can talk about the Israelites, but also about today. What do you think today is more successful in terms of society? Rewards, or I mean, Brad, last week you said, why can't Moses be a cheerleader and be positive and everything? And here he's kind of being not a cheerleader, but saying, if you do this, look at all the great things that'll happen to you. Which do you think is more, not just Brad, but anyway, would be more effective today in society, and which seems to work, or what do you think works in society? And I just want to throw into the pot that there are many sects of Christianity that really emphasize going to hell, and being damned and going to hell if you don't behave in a certain way. And that's like a staple of a lot of the fundamentalists, this idea of hell as a deterrent. And do you think it's effective? So I'm curious, any thoughts about society either giving reward or punishment, and which one would bring better behavior out of human beings, in your opinion? Come on, you guys must have a thought about it. Yeah, Mara or Harv, your hands up. Yeah.
Well, I guess I wanted to make a more general comment. In literary theory, we talk about things signifying doubly. That is, if you look at a curse, there's also benefit to that, and if you look at a blessing, that there's always curse within that blessing. So to say this is a blessing or this is a curse is not a straightforward thing to be able to do.
Can you be a little more, elaborate a little bit?
Can you help me, Brad?
Well, the word pharmacon that was very studied by French structuralists or deconstructionists. It means both a blessing and a curse. So it's a word that can mean, it has that dual meaning, which is very weird to think of something which is both at the same time a blessing and a curse.
I understand, but in the text, these are very clearly beautiful blessings. If you follow the Torah, you'll have prosperity, you'll have health, it'll be beautiful. And in the other one, it's like terrible things will happen to you. It's interesting. There was a article in the New York Times that I've read a couple times that I love about it's under modern romance, this article in the style section where this woman says how Shamu taught me how to get along with my husband. And she was a trainer at SeaWorld for porpoises. And what they learned was to ignore what the failures were and always praise the positive, always reward and praise the positive in porpoises. And, when they did something wrong or they made a mistake, they ignored it. But every time they did something. So the writer says, so I decided to try it on my husband. And she said, so whenever he did the smallest thing that was good, like he put clothes in the hamper, because apparently he didn't do anything, she would thank you and tell him how great he was. And when he didn't do anything, when he did something wrong, she didn't nag him. And she said over time, he changed and became much more, cooperative and helpful and whatever by praising him. And then the last line is now she was going to try it on her children. But it was an interesting idea that positive reinforcement on a personal level, we're not talking about society, and maybe in society, I don't know, seem to be more effective than threats. Rebecca.
Well, I think both the threats and the blessings have a gravity to them. There's a weightiness to them, and that we have responsibility on both sides, both on the curse side and on the blessing side. We have a responsibility.
What is the responsibility?
Responsibility is to either not fulfill the curse or fulfill the blessing.
I see. Okay, thank you. Brad.
When you talked about hell a minute ago, I couldn't help but think of Dante's Divine Comedy. And, which of the books do you think is read more today, the Inferno or Paradiso? The Inferno.
You're right.
Because those images, this gets back to what David was saying before, the images of hell are much, much more powerful than the images of paradise. So, they do impress us.
Okay, I think you're right. Wait, who else? Somebody else had their hand up that I saw. No. Okay. So I don't want to go into this whole thing about destroying the people because it says you're going to wipe out every single person in the land of Canaan. And it's interesting because they never did it. It's not true. They lived with the people in the land of Canaan. There were lots of idolatry going on. Archaeology shows that they never wiped out all these people, even though it's written in the Torah. And I want to go to chapter 8, and this question here, because it's part of what we're talking about. In chapter 8, let's just read part of chapter 8, and we're going to read, through verse 6. So who would like to read chapter 8, verse 1 through 6? Come on, somebody. Rebecca, thank you.
All the commandment which I command you this day shall be careful to do, that you may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land which the Lord swore to give to your fathers. And you shall remember all the way which the Lord your God has led you these 40 years in the wilderness, that he might humble you, testing you to know what was in your heart, whether you would keep his commandments or not. And he
Okay, so
humbled
I'm going to stop for a minute. So this text in the Eitz Chaim, it says he might test you by hardships to learn what was in your heart. So the implication is that all of the challenges and trials were to see what kind of people you are. And we do know that, well, we can look at the Holocaust and see the people who, were fighting against Nazis or saving Jews, and the ones who weren't. Like, it's when the very difficult times kind of does reveal who we really are, our character, what's in our hearts. Keep going.
And he humbled you and let you hunger and fed you with manna, which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, that he might make you know that man does not live by bread alone, but that man lives by everything that proceeds out of the mouth of the Lord. Your clothing did not wear out upon you, and your foot did not swell these 40 years. Know then in your heart that as a man disciplines his son, the Lord your God disciplines you. So you shall keep the commandments of the Lord your God by walking in his ways and fearing him.
Okay, so let's stop. So there's some really interesting thinking in here, but let's just go to first. Teach you that man does not live on bread alone. What does that mean? But that man may live on anything that the Lord decrees. What do you think that means? Man does not live on bread alone, but man lives on anything that the Lord decrees. Cindy.
Well, that your soul also needs nourishment, not just food, but just your whole soul needs to be nourished as well.
Food, it doesn't, bread can be material things also. It doesn't just have to be bread or food. It could be that you can't live just a material life, that you need some spiritual thing, because the things that Lord decree are what? What is the things that Lord decree really? The Torah, the mitzvahs, the whatever. So he's saying you can't just live a material life and have a meaningful life. That's how I see this. I mean, it could be literally that you don't need food, but it could be manna. I mean, some commentaries say they mean that it was manna and not literal bread, but I think we can take it to a much deeper level and say that. So then it says, bear in mind that the Lord your God disciplines you as a man disciplines his son. So do you think that, well, what is discipline then? What does you think God means by discipline? And if it means suffering, then is this a justification for suffering in our life? And then I go to what Mara said and Brad said about a blessing and a curse at the same time. So what do you think about that idea that everything is God's will, all the suffering or the discipline is from God? Do you think, what do you think? Or is it not from God, it's from the world, and that's not God's role in the world or in our lives? Or does anybody think when bad things happen to us, it's God's will, that this is meant to be? I mean, I think Orthodox Jews may think that. Do people here think that? Or how do we understand it?
That's the whole controversy of the Holocaust.
Okay.
Was God around? Was it a consequence? Where was God then? And then I think October 7th, people feel the same way.
So the discipline is not from God.
I don't
Or
think
is
so.
it?
I don't think God would allow. Well, some of the things in the Torah are pretty, like with Korah, like everyone around him was killed.
Okay. Well, if you believe in this literally, or is this all
Right. But that's the story
metaphorically?
they tell.
Right. So what do we think? Do bad things happen? Is it God's will, do we think?
I hope not.
Other people, what do you think? Why is nobody having it?
Well,
Howard.
it says right in the Torah that God creates evil.
God what?
So God creates evil.
It says God creates evil? Where
Yeah,
does it say that?
in Isaiah.
Oh, okay. But that's not the Torah. That's the
Oh,
Bible.
well,
Okay. God creates evil. I don't know that quote, but it seems to me, okay, I have an opinion, but I want to hear what other people say about are bad things or disaster or whatever God's will or source of God or whatever. Rebecca.
The commentary in the Bible that I'm reading talks about success, and I can say for myself that sometimes when I'm feeling smug about what I've accomplished or what I can do, then something bad always happens. So I think that's what this passage is saying is that, yeah, you can say I'm successful in this and that, but don't forget who provided that for you, who led you in that direction.
It's actually the next section. That's literally in the Torah coming up that we're going to read that. But okay, so thank you for that. Any other thought about it? Howard?
The quotation is Isaiah 45:7.
What is it?
I form the light and I create darkness. I bring prosperity and create disaster. I, the Lord, do all these things.
That's interesting. And Job, too, is certainly about that. But, I don't know that's Isaiah. Okay.
That's Isaiah.
But
Isaiah's pretty important.
he's speaking for God. You're right. You're right. I think that what this text is saying is that when you don't follow the Torah, when you don't, live this righteous, meaningful, compassionate, kindly life, then evil and disaster is created or is the result. I think what the Torah is actually saying to us is that we have a choice and that we create our own results by the way that we behave between each other, among each other, and in our society, and how we treat other people. Rebecca kind of said it's on a psychological level. I become smug, and then suddenly something bad appears to remind me that it's not in my hands. But in a way, God is saying it is in our hands. There's a natural order in the universe that is a result of our behavior. It's like that butterfly effect idea, when that what we do matters and has results and consequences far greater. And perhaps it even does, and look, it does affect the weather. It does affect the crops. We know, like, global warming, the way pollution, all this stuff, our behavior is affecting nature. And the Torah is very clear about how we're supposed to treat nature and how we're supposed to give the land a rest and how we're supposed to respect, the earth and the land. So I think this is kind of a roadmap or an explanation for you have to be careful how you act. If you follow this way, your life is going to be a certain way. And even if bad things happen, the relationships, your actions are going to bring you friends and family and kindness and support. That's going to help you get through it. So that's how I see this. Does anybody, and then I want to, anybody have any thoughts on that response before we move on? So I want you to look at now exactly what Rebecca said. So Rebecca, well, you already read. So Cindy, why don't you read? It's verse 11. Verse 11, exactly what Rebecca said. So why don't you read it? Take care lest you forget.
Okay, I have women's commentary, so sometimes it's a little different.
That's okay.
Take care lest you forget your God Adonai and fail to keep the divine commandments, rules, and laws which I enjoin upon you today. When you have eaten your fill and have built fine houses to live in, and your herds and flocks have multiplied, and your silver and gold have increased, and everything you own has prospered, beware lest your heart grow haughty and you forget your God Adonai, who freed you from the land of Egypt, the house of bondage, who led you through the great and terrible wilderness with its serpents and scorpions, a parched land with no water in it, who brought forth water for you from the flinty rock, who fed you in the wilderness with manna, which your ancestors had never known, in order to test you by hardship, only to benefit you in the end. And you say to yourselves, my own power and the might of my own hand have won this wealth for me. Remember that it.
Okay, stop. So, Rebecca, this is exactly it, right? It's saying when all these good things happen, don't forget that it didn't come from you. So, how many of you believe that blessings? I mean, how would I even ask that? That God is warning us that we need. Okay, how do we remind ourselves that things are not from ourselves, but are from God? There's a way that the rabbis have mandated for us to do that. What is the way? How do we remind ourselves that things are not just of our own making in this world, according to the Torah and the rabbis in the Talmud? Anybody know? Anybody have any thoughts on that? Any thoughts? Okay, so
Is it the tzitzit?
who said that?
Marina.
Yes, the tzitzit is one of the ways, or the talit, where it has all the different mitzvahs. But the rabbi, I know you know this, that the Talmud says you should say 100 blessings a day. And when you bless, you are suddenly aware, when you thank God, you suddenly are, it's actually about living in a place of gratitude. It's not saying, oh, I'm so great, look what I did. It's like, oh, thank you. Oh my God, I'm so grateful. Even if you're not a religious person and you don't believe in God, say, I don't literally believe in God. There are people could be in this group. But to have gratitude, to have an awareness that these things are precious, that they're not just we're not entitled to them, and that when they happen, we need to be grateful and live in that place, of kind of happiness and awareness of the beauty or the gifts that we have. And there are 100 blessings. There are some really interesting there's, the ones we know, but there's a blessing when you see a beautiful person. There's a blessing when you see a rainbow. There's a blessing when you see some beautiful thing in nature. And then we also have the daily miracle blessings that we're supposed to say every day. It's like, thank you, God, for letting. And honestly, as you get older, I think these blessings are the more meaningful ones. If you look at the Nisim B'chol Yom, the daily miracles, are you familiar with the Nisim B'chol Yom, the daily miracles that are in the Siddur? Oh my God. Well, we say them on Shabbat, but you're supposed to say them every day. Thank you for letting my eyes open. Thank you for letting me be able to stand up straight. Thank you for letting my feet be steady on the ground. Thank you for my back being straight, which if you have backaches, that's not always to be taken for granted. It's thank you for making me free. Thank you for making me a Jew. Thank you for, there are all these blessings of things that the rabbis actually wrote in the Talmud. And you can look it up. It's in any of our prayer books. It's called the Daily Miracles. At a time when people were really suffering. And it was a really bad time historically. I think it was during the oppression of the Romans. And they added these blessings to say, even in the worst of times, there are blessings. There are things to be grateful for that we can focus on. And, and the Modeh Ani, which is the prayer that you're supposed to say the minute you open your eyes. It's I learned it when I was in Orthodox Jewish day school. Modeh ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayom. I thank you, God, that you returned my soul to me. And that I could wake up this morning, because there's this idea that your soul leaves your body while you're sleeping and comes back, and you open your eyes and you say, Modeh ani. Modeh comes from the word todah, which means thank you. So in Judaism, we start with gratitude and we live in gratitude. And we can be grateful to God, or we can, spiritually, we should be grateful to God, or grateful to the universe, or grateful to the fact that we live here and we're not living in Afghanistan, or we didn't live in the 40s in Germany or whatever. There's this sense of gratitude, and the Torah saying, just remember when things are good, it's not all because of you, and have an awareness of that, so that it's not, you didn't do it all, because that's certainly not the case. So any thoughts or comments, Brad?
Yeah. You know, what I'm struck by, in addition to what you're saying, is verse 17, where it says, "And you say to yourself." Again, it's this power of speech. Again, this is the book. This book is a book of speech. The language, the importance of language, the importance of speech, has become so important the further we've gotten in the Torah. Speaking to the rock, speak to the rock. God tells Moses. More and more, it's about speech and the power of language in this book.
And remember, the whole world was created
By
through
speech.
speech. The very beginning of the Torah, in the beginning, God spoke. So speech, and the name of this book is words. So you're absolutely right. That is the theme. David.
The flip side of the gratitude or being thankful that, but for whatever circumstances there were there in where we were born, how we would be able to come here if we weren't born here, et cetera, if our grandparents weren't. The flip side is that with the bad things that happen, those don't mean that we did something wrong. So whether it was the Holocaust, 9/11, the victims of the flood in Texas, where those children were killed and swept down the river, et cetera. So things just happen. I mean, God gave us free will, and we certainly could have the free will to show gratitude, to believe in gratitude for the good things. But the bad things that happen, it just happened in this world that we live in, this material world of earth that God created. Things happen, and not because necessarily we did something wrong. Although sometimes we believe that, gee, if we didn't do this, that wouldn't have happened to us, or what did we do to cause this to befall us?
I think you're right. And certainly acts of nature are no one's fault, but a lot of times all the other suffering in the world is because some people are doing things wrong.
Oh, sure. Yep. I mean,
Not
say
us,
Yep.
not us, but if everybody followed the teachings of the Torah or the basic ethical teaching of the Torah, there would be such a better society. And I mean, if you think of this as this is a message to the people of ancient Israel in 632 BCE. They're saying our society could be so much more beautiful if we would follow these laws. We would all benefit if we as a people followed these laws.
Sure, there may be cause and effect too. I mean, say there's somebody who cheats in business. Well, that person who cheats in business, at some point in time, they may get cheated to by someone else. And so if in fact they always acted ethically and honestly, for example, then probably there would be less of a chance for them to be cheated as well, because they're dealing in a certain manner. But there's certain things, like you say, natural disasters, but also even interpersonal relations, things may just happen.
Yes, but by the way, everybody, cheating in business must have been so common because according to the Midrash and the rabbis, it's not the Midrash, the Talmud, the first question that you're going to be asked when you die and go to the next world, there are 5 questions you're going to be asked by the angels. The first question is, were you honest in business? That's
Sure.
the number 1 question.
Sure.
Howard.
I'm thinking, to me, I'm feeling that this line is on a fairly weak grounds. I mean, you're kind of saying, well, you should say 100 blessings every day and realize, and this has consequences. This means something for you, but then we also, I'm pretty sure we could have someone could tell us, well, say 100 curses, notice 100 bad things as your day passes, and note those. But that's not you, because you have free will. It doesn't mean that you're bad. It means something else. So we're trying to have our cake and eat it too here.
I think the rabbis are just suggesting that we say 100 blessings. I don't think anybody really says 100 blessings, but the implication is count your blessings. Yes, you have an opportunity to look at the curses or look at the blessings. And in the next parsha, it'll say, I offer you blessings and I offer you curses. And then God says, choose life. That's a very famous quote in the Torah, in this book, choose life. So choose life means well, what do you think choose life means for anyone? What does that mean? I offer you blessings and I offer you curses, choose
To
life.
me, death is, cheating in business, cheating people, being mean to people, not having empathy. That's death.
You should keep it up there.
Choose life is the opposite of that.
Well, also saying choose life or choose the kind of life, because to live in that darkness of curses or evil or crime is not to live a meaningful life at all. It's a kind of death, actually. Somebody's talking, if you're talking, please just mute. Okay, so I had another point, but I forgot it. Okay, I want to go to another important thing in this, which is okay, I'm just going to read you this and I want to talk about it. Over and over again since Exodus, it says here, the Lord said to me, I see that this is a stiff-necked people. And the Jews are called over and over again a stiff-necked people. What does that mean? A stiff-necked people. What is a stiff-necked people? Harv,
Means we're stubborn.
you're stubborn. And that means what? How does that, why is that?
It means we have to be told 3 or 4 times and maybe more to follow the teachings.
Follow the teachings. Thank you. Yes. Does anybody have any other thoughts what stiff-necked might mean? Anybody else have any ideas what stiff-necked might? Oh, Rebecca?
Rigid, not bendable, rigid.
I think both. I think stubborn and I think rigid. And I think we are living in a very stiff-necked time. A very scarily stiff-necked time where everybody is very wedded to their view and their beliefs and doesn't want to see any other point of view. And not only doesn't want to see any other point of view, they attack you if you have a different point of view. It's not just that they disagree with you, they literally attack you. They ostracize you, they scream at you, they belittle you, and maybe even harm you for a different point of view. So stiff-necked is a pretty dangerous attribute to have. And the Israelites, what was one of their biggest, would you say, behaviors that were stiff-necked through the Torah? Do you think? Can you give me an example of how stiff-necked they were?
They always wanted to go back to Egypt.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing. Oh, why did you, take us out of there? It was such a great place. I mean, they totally fantasized and made up what it was. And then they were always looking backward. I think stiff-necked also is interesting, is that you're looking in one direction and you can't turn your head. You're stiff. So you're looking back. You're looking over there, or you're looking to the right, or you're looking to the left, and you're not having a wider view. It also could mean stiff-necked. So it's a very interesting image for the Jewish people. Do you think the Jewish people are stiff-necked in general? Do you think you're stiff-necked? Oh, well, Diane, what are you saying with this?
I think many people are, and there's some people that, I think stiff-necked means negative. Maybe that's wrong. And there are negative people and there are positive people. There's different varieties, different thoughts.
I mean, I don't find rabbinic Jews, since the Talmud, that stiff-necked, because they're always arguing multiple points of view and listening to each other and saying, well, it could be this, it could be that. And even though they disagree, they respect each other's points of view. And a lot of times they'll say, well, it's a tie. So they could both be right, and we don't know, and we'll have to wait, they say, till the Messiah comes in order to get the answer, the true answer. So I don't find Jews particularly stiff-necked, maybe ultra-Orthodox Jews who are like going by the letter of the law, but any fundamentalist group is pretty stiff-necked. But I don't think we are anymore. I think we're more of the where we used to be. I don't know right now. Right now is a really tough time for Jews and others but I don't think we don't want to be stiff-necked, and we try not to be.
But
But
stiff-necked, Rabbi, can also be positive.
how so?
Well, yeah.
Okay, Herman and then Brad. Go ahead.
We're thinking of stiff-neck as being negative. I can agree with that statement. They always wanted to go back. Okay. But stiff-neck, I believe, can also be positive. You believe in things that are good. You act upon those things consistently. That is being stiff-necked.
In other words, you can't be swayed.
Good way of putting it.
Yeah, I like that. Brad.
Yeah, I mean, I was also thinking of the positive aspects. We say people have grit, they are resilient. I mean, to me, those could also be other synonyms for stiff-necked. But I think the important thing is that we're a people that you have to keep moving. We're in the desert, we're in this wilderness, and we don't, yes, we pause temporarily, but we keep moving. And I think that's the worst thing. That's being stiff-necked, is to just keep moving in one direction or the other, but just keep going on. And we do that. We just keep moving on, moving forward.
We don't despair and give up and say,
Right.
we stiffen ourselves and we keep going, is what you're saying. Strength, and
Yes.
you see it as a sign of strength in a way.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting. I don't think the Torah meant it that way, but I love that as a new interpretation. I really like that a lot. There's another really important quote. Does anybody else have something they want to add that I really want to talk about, which is on its verse, because there's so much in this thing, but this one is famous. And over again, he keeps saying, follow God, follow the paths, you'll be rewarded, you'll do good. I mean, Moses says it so many times, I feel like he's begging them, as I talked about a plea, but he says this. This is really important, and this is, it's chapter 10, verse 16. And I'm going to read this, and then we're going to talk about it. They say cut away, but really it's circumcise the thickening about your hearts. Oh, okay. And stiffen your necks no more. This is what this says. It says, the heavens to their uttermost reaches belong to the Lord your God, the earth and all there is on it. Yet it was to your fathers that the Lord was drawn in his love for them. So we're talking about love, so that he chose you, their lineal descendants, from among all the peoples, as is the case. So it's like God chose you because he loved your ancestors. Therefore, circumcise the thickening of your heart, or circumcise your hearts and stiffen your necks no more. What does that mean, circumcise your heart? And that's a pretty graphic image. Cindy.
Well, we talked about it yesterday, that it was removing your negative blocks that surround your heart.
Oh, so negative, so it affects you only? Or what are you talking? Be a little more elaborate.
Well, that each person opening their heart by cutting away the negative, and that what blocks you from moving forward.
Okay, any other idea what circumcise your hearts mean? Circumcise your heart? I think it means, and I think we're in a, honestly, we need it right now. It's like, what's the opposite of circumcising your heart? What's the, what, if we look at circumcision, what does it do?
Cuts away.
But
Uncovers.
there's a block, there's a covering, I think it means take the hardening, the outer shell that everybody is kind of in right now and become vulnerable, become more caring, become more sensitive. You're much more sensitive after you've been circumcised. Be more sensitive. Your heart needs to be more sensitive, not just for blocking things for us, but be sensitive to what's going on to others. So it's like, don't be stiff-necked no more, even though we talked about it being a resilient thing. Here it means, oh my God, this to me, I'm going to be, I think, using this in my Rosh Hashanah sermon. It's like, stop thinking that your way, your view is the only way. Start trying to have empathy and sensitivity to others and to what other people are going through or how other people are feeling and thinking. I think right now we're all in our own little box of our beliefs, and the viciousness that I've seen among Jews attacking each other if they don't agree with them about Israel, about Trump, about the government, about whatever, the viciousness of not allowing people to have a different point of view is because we're so stiff in our beliefs, and we're so encased in this our own, we have no sensitivity anymore, and it's kind of shocking. And I think obviously this is part of the human condition, because this was written 2,500 years ago, 2,600 years ago, and people were feeling that way then. So the human beings have an opportunity to be either way, but right now I think we're really trapped in a very thickened position about our own thoughts. And then it says, verse 17, when somebody read Deuteronomy 10, verse 17. Somebody read that? Somebody? If you have
The Lord your God is God supreme, and the Lord supreme, the great, the mighty, and the awesome God, who shows no favor and takes no bribe, but upholds the cause of the fatherless and the widow, and befriends the stranger, providing him with food and clothing. You too must befriend the stranger, for you are strangers in the land of Egypt.
This to me is a really powerful, important passage in the Torah and in this chapter. And I want to ask you, there's a very interesting, I've read commentaries. What does that mean? God takes no bribe. Takes no bribe. What do you think that means? God takes no bribe. How do you bribe God?
Well,
Merle, do you have your hand up? No. Abby, do you have your hand up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying. That you have to work for what you get. That you have to earn it.
So that otherwise, how are you bribing God?
Oh,
By just saying, oh, if you find me my parking space, I'll do this or that kind of thing. But
Actually, that's it's close to true. Yeah. Who else had their hand up? Herman.
I don't remember which one of the prophets said it, but I know there was one prophet who quoted God as saying, "I do not want your sacrifices."
Oh, that's Isaiah.
Was it Isaiah? Okay, wasn't that
So that could be a bribe. But the commentaries say, or our commentary I read said, it's like you say, well, I'll give tzedakah, so it's okay if I cheat on my wife. In other words, I'll do one mitzvah so I can do something bad. That's what they're saying is a bribe. Like, oh, God, I'm doing this, I'm keeping kosher. So if I, cheat in my taxes, it doesn't matter, or it evens it out. Merle.
I feel like it's the wrong way to get appreciated by what you said, or people making donations and wanting their name all over the place, or whatever the situation is. I don't think you can really bribe God. I
No, but
think
you can think you're bribing God.
you can think about it, but that's not a good thing. And I can't
Exactly.
think of the right word to say that it's not a good thing, but it's disturbing to think or to watch people who want that feel that by bribing God, they're doing a good thing.
Well, in their mind, they're saying,
Right.
well, I mean, I'm going to do this, and this is like, this will give me good points, or this makes me a good person, even though they're saying you can't be a hypocrite and think it's acceptable. You can't be good in one area and not in another and can think that that's acceptable. But the thing that I think is so powerful, and we don't see it in the Torah that much, we do see it in Isaiah and the prophets, but upholds the cause of the fatherless and the widow, and befriends the stranger and providing him with food and clothing. You must too befriend the stranger. And again, that to me is very connected to uncircumcise your heart. Don't be stiff-necked, because the stranger is people who are not us. People who are not like us are the stranger, the ger, it's in Hebrew, the ger. And of all the mitzvahs in the Torah, to remember or take care of or love the stranger is mentioned 36 times, more than any other mitzvah, is to remember the stranger, because, in other words, because you were a stranger in the land of Egypt. Put yourself in their place. Remember, just remember, put yourself in their place. And how do you do that? By stop being stiff-necked and circumcising your heart, becoming sensitive and putting yourself in their place. This is probably one of the core teachings of this parsha, if not this book. And it's timeless and ageless, and something for us to think about as we enter Elul and the high holidays and the time of, looking at our lives. Yes, Merle.
I remember an individual who gave a lot of money to his congregation for scholarships, like for camp and school and whatever. And he insisted on wanting to know who his money was going to. And the rabbi of that congregation at the time was saying, that's not the purpose of your donations to this particular scholarship fund. And that's basically what you just said. I mean, you remember, they're no longer strangers if they have to divulge who they are getting the money.
You can see it that way. That's actually one of the lowest levels of charity giving, according to Maimonides. That's the second to the lowest level, where you know them and they know you. That's
Right.
that's the lowest one. So it's 10 o'clock, so we have to stop and do Kaddish. I know Merle said you're saying Kaddish this week for your cousin. Is that what it was?
My grandmother.
Your grandmother. So we're going to stop now, and I'm going to mention first to remember all those who passed away during Shloshim this past month. Nancy Daum, Bernd Givon, Ebrahim Goel, Jerry Goldman, Ann Gross, Gloria Kaufman, Calvin Julius Kleiman, Jack Myers, Masako Rosen, Jane Weintraub. And those whose yortzites occurred during this past week: Eva Ackerman, Aaron Arnold, Irving Bassman, Harold Burlfine, Ann Bernstein, Pauline Bernstein, Dorothy Kamhi Bernstein, Doris Calderon, Linda Jane Cherry, Bernard Cohen, Earl Cohen, Alvin Edgar Cohn, Henriette Darlin, Jean Davido, Lawrence Deitch, Maury Dickman, Sam Dolinko, Estelle Drexler, Frank Filer, Max Feidelson, Sophie Feldman, Sarita Fenton, Millard Fleischer, Edna Florence, Sonia Friedman, Irving Geffner, Elsie Goodman, Sadie Greenberg, Maury Grossberg, Betty Lois Halper, Mark Harnatia, Anthony Amarco, Norman Jacobson, Johanna Kahn, Hannah Kaplan, David Harry Karsh, Jack Kent, Belle Kessler, Denise Helen Corman, Vivian Korn, Sidney Korobkin, Shirley Cotton, Roger Cosberg, Michael Crevin, Jean Kunesh, Lawrence Leonard, Sandra Elise Lerner, William Lerner, Margaret Lesack, Harry Levison, Ellis Levy, Esther Levy, Edward Lewis, Ava Grace Liatowish, Leonard Lindy, Dolores Louisa Lopez, Sandy Lausheim, Sandra Lurie, Helen Mayer, Sidney Mayer, Henry Miner, Bessie Miller Bodek, Ruth Mogul, Robert Neal Morgan, Arthur Nozick, Charles Phillips, William Paltuck, Stephen Port, Lawrence Michael Powell, Thelma Prince, Teresa Rouse, Enid Reiser, Thelma Passer-Rubin, Rona Rose Richmond, Morris Robin, Marvin Rosenthal, Harold Royce, Jenny Rubens, Joralyn Salmonson, Ruth Shapira, Walter Schoenfeld, Jeffrey Schwartz, Soletta Schwartz, Larry Searman, Nathan Schaffer, Joan Shaffrin, Barbara Irene Shello, Wilfred Shohan, Alan David Siegel, Jacob Silver, Millicent Small, Len Steckler, Benjamin Titleman, Abe Tobias, Isaac Torbati, Gerald Norman Tooch, Molly Wagner, Rose Wegg, Clifford Whites, Charles Wesley, Harry Wolf, Sumner Yaffe, Lillian Udovitz, William Young, Elaine Zane, Alan Zapersky. Are there any other names to add?
Well, I think you read my grandmother's name, Sarah Cohn, anyway. It should be on the list.
Sarah,
Cohn, Kohn.
I wasn't on there. Sarah Cohn.
That's weird because there's a plaque in the sanctuary and everything. So
Well,
she should
Well,
be on there.
We're mentioning her now, and we also remember
fine.
all those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. As I turn to page 294, and I read the Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. V'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chaye chon uv'yome chon uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach leolam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudasha richu. Le'ela minkol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Damiran biyama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Harvey and Mara, how are you doing? I don't have your right phone number.